Lo-Fi Horror Guys Growing on Your Live Season 14 is sponsored by Toxic Coffin. Toxic Coffin is two horror-loving dudes, Lance and Steven. They make horror and Halloween goods to explode your brain. Each shirt is curated with its own experience to make you stoked on your favorite movie or time of year. Follow Toxic Coffin at toxic_coffin on social medias or at their shop at toxiccoffin.com. Once again, at toxic_coffin or at their shop at toxiccoffin.com.
All right, Matt, how's it going, man?
It works,
man. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank the Lord. Yeah, I've had a couple of times where the laptops and computers have kind of been a little shifty, and we've had to go back and forth between things. But thank the Lord. Oh my God, thank you so much for taking your time first and foremost today. This is huge, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I took your advice. I didn't use the laptop. I'm on my phone now.
So
far, so good. The battery on this iPhone is still in good shape. So I hope it makes it till the end. We'll see. This is a true experiment.
Yeah. Okay, sweet. Yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, oh, it works. All right, not a problem. So yeah, so cool, man. We have a lot to dig into, and I don't know if you are a father or not, but happy Father's Day, like I was saying out to everybody who is. If not, you have a dad, so shout out in that manner. So
happy Father's Day to everyone. Yeah, I've been hitting everyone up I know who are fathers. I myself am not a human father. I'm a dog father. So I don't know if that qualifies.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it qualifies for cats. I say, hey, why not? It could qualify for dogs too. Maybe he'll come running down here in a minute. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. All right. Like I say, I truly appreciate it. Here on Growing on You Live, what we do, I have one introduction question. Then the remainder of the interview is about you and your craft, your career in music, drumming. And then I have one finale that I wrote just for this episode, man. So if you're all comfy, ready to go, let's get it going.
Let's do it.
Awesome. All right, let me ask you. So in some interviews, I've noticed you make, kind of mentions as far as kind of food analogies. And I wanted to ask you, you've mentioned before as far as the bass and drums being the cake of a band. Tell us about a couple of bands that you enjoy that feature a delicious cake.
That feature a cake?
That feature, no, in saying that the
that like the ingredients
drummer,
are the...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. What's the band that you like that the bassist and drummer are just stand out that you love?
Oh, man, you can go all over the gamut for that. Old bands, take Geezer and Bill Ward. There you go, man. Like, it doesn't get better than that. And, if you're in my era, my age group, like, those were the bands that you listened to, and guys still listen to that stuff because they created heavy metal,
Totally.
Oh, man, that's a tough question being put on the spot. I would think Paulo and Igor from Sepultura. Because, very thick rhythm section, and they're just heavy hitters, and they create some of the best heavy metal that I grew up listening to and learned to play my drums on and everything. So I still go back to the old stuff like Arise and, Schizophrenia and listen to that, like, how fast it was, but how tight it was. Dude, it was dirty too, though. It was good. So it's funny, the food thing, because I also use I like to use car analogies too. I always look at a band as like, you got the, four guys in a band, there's four tires. One of them's flat. The car isn't going anywhere. And the drums and the bass are like, the tires in the transmission and the motor, like we're making the car go. The rhythm section's making the car go. Everything else is the paint job and the cool decals and the steering wheel and all that stuff and the cool headlights and,
Yeah. All of it together.
I'm glad you picked that up.
Though.
All of it's essential. The machine doesn't work. The cake doesn't taste good unless you have all these elements. And the car doesn't go anywhere unless you have solid elements like that. But I thank you for picking up on that, because I once, sticking with the food thing, like people have asked in interviews over the years, like, well, how would you describe Hatebreed? How would you describe Hatebreed's music? What's it mean to you? And in the simplest terms, and I've gotten my chops busted on this, but I don't know, it makes sense to me. And it's not dissing the band. Of course, I'm in the band, and I love the guys, and I wouldn't diss anybody or anything about the band. But to me, like, Hatebreed is like that snack bag of Doritos or Fritos that you get in, like, the snack packs, because you open it up, and, man, you're craving it. And it's just enough. It satisfies you, and you walk away like, oh, that was the best tasting thing I've ever had in my life. I needed that. So, yeah, Sean used to bust my chops like, yeah, so we're basically a bag of Doritos. That's great. But you get the analogy.
Oh my God. Yeah, totally. That is fun. You know, and it was funny too, because I'm writing this out, and just the other day, Armand and Craig from Sick of It All put up that Iron Maiden cover. I don't know if you saw that or not. They released it on here, and it's like of Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan,
and I'm like,
yeah. It was awesome.
Oh man, yeah, it was so cool. You know, and it was like, this is a perfect time because, you know, I'm kind of, you know, honing in on the whole bass and drums aspect of myself being a drummer, you know, and then hearing that, you know, I was like, man, I'm gonna have to bring this up because for sure, you know, we're gonna touch on that a little bit.
Talk about rhythm sections.
Love that.
There you go.
Totally.
You know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're the best rhythm. One of the best rhythm sections in New York hardcore.
Yeah.
And good dudes. Armand, we need to have another beer. I'm ready. Road trip. Come hang.
Things are starting to open up a little bit, so that opportunity, you know, it doesn't seem so far off. Thank God, you know.
Thank God. Yeah, we're starting to see what I think like 3 days ago, New York fully lifted everything. No more masks, no more nothing. Hopefully no more worries, you know, just everyone's still got to be careful and wash their hands and do all that good stuff and really just have some common sense about the whole thing. Right. But I'm glad we're moving in the right direction now. It's not like the zombie apocalypse is upon us and we can't do anything. Now we can start doing some stuff.
Yeah, for sure. No, so taking it back a little bit as far as, you know, young Matt, we go up, you know, into, you know, you growing up in, what were songs, bands, or albums that really resonated with you early on, maybe even before, you know, your initial interest in music had started?
Yeah, well, starting there, like super young, early 80s. I remember my neighborhood where I grew up was full of kids that were older than me. And thankfully, there were a lot of kids in the neighborhood, so you always had a lot of stuff to do, and you got turned on to all these different things. And having the older kids, you know, you're the young kid following them around and doing what they do and wanting to do what they do. So, you know, I got turned on to bands like Quiet Riot, Metal Health, you know, and Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil. You know, these were big albums, and they were considered heavy and crazy. I mean, that Metal Health cover with the mask and it's kind of scary, and then Motley Crue, of course, they had a pentagram on the front of the album, and I got these on vinyl, by the way, you know. So so I really got into that, and you know, my older cousin Frankie too, he turned me on to a lot of stuff. He turned me on to Led Zeppelin, Iron Maiden, Accept. He had Restless and Wild, Iron Maiden, Live After Death, you know, and of course Black Sabbath. Paranoid was the first album that I got turned on to by them. Electric Funeral was one of the first songs I heard, and we'd have a boom box. We'd be walking around the neighborhood, man, cranking that like bow, 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 bow. Parents are like, "What the hell is that?" But yeah, that was probably the early stuff. When before that, I was into like Run DMC, so I had a little hip hop exposure too. But then the heavy stuff came, and then while I'm into the heavy stuff, then I got into Beastie Boys, License to Ill, you know, and then, so that was like the third record I bought. So I had kind of a mix of things going on, but I gravitated more towards the heavy metal. And then as I got into like middle school and, you know, still hanging out with some older kids, then you get into Metallica. I think someone turned me on to Master of Puppets. And then forget it, the floodgates opened and it was just thrash, 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 thrash from that point on. And I'm getting into music where I wanted to learn how to play something. And my uncle is a drummer, my mother's youngest brother. And he, so I grew up watching him play. Every time we had a family party or something and we'd go to grandma's house, he had the drums up in the attic. He'd do a crazy drum solo or something, or he was a big Stuart Copeland guy. He had that kind of style. So and Beatles, raised on the Beatles. My mother saw the Beatles at Carnegie Hall back in the day.
Wow, no shit.
Yeah, pretty wild. My grandfather, and this is, you know, she's like, no, it was real. This Beatlemania thing. We went and all the seats are sold out, so they put us in folding chairs on the stage behind Ringo. And I guess that was considered a not so good seat at the time because you're behind the band, you can't see anything. God. Nowadays, everyone's falling all over each other trying to get on stage and ruin the show. But yeah, so my grandfather took my mother and a friend of hers to see the Beatles, Carnegie Hall, and they sat behind Ringo, you know, however far back. And my mother was like, "It was the best thing, you know, we're rocking along. I want to hold your hand and all that." And my grandfather was just like, you know, World War II veteran guy who's always like this, you know, barrel-chested guy. And she was like, "Oh no, I looked over and he was rocking out with us." So, Beatlemania was a real thing.
Nice.
So the thrash music was my Beatlemania. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy, and just blew my mind. And then, through my uncle, I started, got turned on to the drums, and he had a drum set. He was like, thank God he did this. He was like, I got a drum set. It's just collecting dust in the attic. I'll give it to you, but I'm not just going to give it to you to make a lot of noise. Like, why don't you take a couple lessons first? I'll give you my practice pad first. Take a couple lessons, see if it clicks, see if you like it, see if you get it. If you're going to continue with it after X amount of time, I forget what it was, but I'll give you this drum set. And it was, man, I wish I had it now, but it was this rickety old red sparkle Ludwig made of plywood type of thing, like just beat up, I would restore it right now. It'd probably be worth something, I would hope. I don't know. I just wish I still had it. So, I had this drum set, and being a 14, 15-year-old kid, I just beat the hell out of it. And that was the start of my journey, playing with kids from school and getting turned on to Metallica and the thrash. And then through drum lessons, this is why I say, thankfully, he had suggested that, and I did that, because I think, you don't necessarily have to learn from the book and learn how to read music and stuff like that. I think the biggest thing is with the ear and learning what's what and the sounds and how to pick what out. But I really got hooked up with a good teacher who structured his lessons with half the lesson would be out of the book. Let's learn how to read notes and rat-a-tat-tat and all the rudiments and everything like that. And the second half of the lesson would be, you bring in a song that you want to learn, and we'll break it down, and I'll show it to you. So I was learning the music that I wanted to learn, not just Kumbaya or something like that, which was, when I tried to play guitar, that's what happened when I tried to play guitar. I would be lefty, man. Everyone makes fun of me for always shredding lefty. Jimi Hendrix style, right? But the guitar teacher was like, no, you got to play righty like this. And she wanted to teach me all these church songs on an acoustic guitar, and I wasn't into that. So getting hooked up with a drum teacher who was like, yeah, dude, I get it. You want to learn this? We'll break it down. We'll see what they're doing. Let's figure it out, And took lessons from him. His name's Mike Shapiro. He's still available for lessons in New York City. We recently reconnected, thank God for Facebook and all that stuff. And
sure.
Yeah, so that was the start of my journey, man. And then just hooking up with dudes in high school and local, you graduate from that to like a local scene, club scene, I guess. And once again, I'm dealing with some cats who are older than me, so they could kind of show me the way. And I just, here I am.
Here you are. Yeah, I mean, that's cool too, as far as you mentioned, because you also have articles and you do things in, is it Drum Magazine? I hope I'm not messing that up.
Yes, used to. Okay, Drum Magazine, the print edition, I think, folded about 2 years ago. They still have some stuff online. But yeah, since 2005 till about 2 years ago, I was writing for the practice pad section in Drum Magazine.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. And I was wondering about that too, because I had kind of wondered if there was an earlier experience that you had just as far as, being busy touring, writing, having albums. And obviously in Hatebreed, you guys are constantly out and constantly, having shit going on. So I kind of wondered if there was something, of a positive experience that you had younger with, some sort of training or anything like that. And it's cool hearing that story, too, because a lot of times you hear that, it's like, I have an album of Motley Crue at home that has a pentagram on the cover. Like, I'm not trying to learn church songs right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're 14.
Like that's what lessons always are.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And guitar, that was part of the failure for me. I just, still, I could noodle around, but I wish I played guitar a little more. I think nowadays, if I could play a stringed instrument, it would be the bass. Because I just think, man, I want to bring the thunder. Guitar is great, but I don't know. Yeah, it just takes me more work. I think, like, I never tried playing it lefty like I should have. I should probably go back to it and revisit it. But, yeah, I was just set up to fail with that at a young age. And it's unfortunate, but, hey, I found the drums. So I feel like I've done okay up to this point. I'm doing all right. I'm having fun with it.
Did you ever feel, did it ever feel awkward as far as having the drum kit just the standard way, or was it ever something that you kind of played around with, moving that with being left-handed?
No, well, I'm not lefty. I'm righty. And everything I do is righty. I throw righty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it would just be with guitar. I would have to play lefty. I don't know why my brain is set up like that, or at what point. I picked up the broomstick and started strumming like I was air guitaring, and it just felt right to me. So I have no idea why. But then I saw, like, Jimi Hendrix. I'm like, yeah, no, that's how some people play, whatever. But you get the naysayers that are like, bullshit, you can't do it like that.
Yeah, right. So where in this timeline now? You mentioned Metallica. I have to ask about your love for Slayer. Where did Slayer come involved in your interest?
Geez, like, so finding the thrash stuff, and it seemed like you get into Metallica, and it must have been Master of Puppets. It was either Master or And Justice for All. So then I get their entire catalog, and I'm immersed in that, and then I'm like, wait a second, who's Dave Mustaine? Megadeth, boom, and then Exodus and Testament and all these bands. All of a sudden I'm just my head's exploding with all this stuff. So Slayer came with that. And Anthrax too, just found my way to those bands where once I heard Slayer, my mind was blown, because I was like, these guys are everybody's great, but these guys are faster than everybody else. This is insane. And then of course Lombardo, he was a standout drummer to me because his drumming was really chaotic, and dare I say, like, it sounded jazzy to me. I hate that term, but it did, because he was doing, it was like taking a box of pots and pans and throwing them down the stairs, and that was his style. And it was just this like play by the seat of your pants vibe that he had going on. He was going so fast, but he could still pull all that stuff off strong, and it just sounded so fluid and natural, and it was great. And I was like, I want to play like that. I want to play like that, because if you can play that, you can play everything else pretty much, like that to me was the bar. So, and then I was off and running, man. And still to this day, like, Dave left the band. He's just two of my favorite drummers are named Dave. How's that work out? Dave Lombardo. And then from the funky side, we got David Garibaldi. And, I don't know. So, okay. We could talk about that in a second, because he's amazing too. But once I found Slayer, I was off and running. So I saw them in Poughkeepsie in '91. That was the first time seeing them. They were on the Seasons in the Abyss tour. It was them and Testament, and Sepultura was supposed to open. They didn't. Something happened that whole tour or that show or whatever. They didn't make it, so it was just the two bands.
Damn.
So I saw them for the first time there. I was blown away, and they did everything. They played everything, and it was February of 1991. And then I've just been a Slayer fan forever. And then flash forward to February of 2002. So 11 years to the day, almost to the day. It was like Valentine's Day or something. And here we are going on tour with Slayer for God Hates Us All. Hatebreed, first night, Toad's Place in New Haven, Connecticut. First night of that tour with them. It was chaos. And I was like, this is crazy. In 10 years, 11 years, where, like, what's going on here? This is like flash forward, and I'm on tour with the band. Who the hell would have predicted that?
Right. I mean, it's so wild, and it's so cool, just as far as having those things, and still, kind of remaining a little bit of that humbleness of like, how the hell did I get here? Like, what did I do? And hopefully this keeps on going. And obviously, you guys have gone a long way, even in the time that you've been in the band too. With all the albums and different things, and even doing the cover album and having a Slayer track on there. Shit.
Yeah. And that was another way, for me to play that song and kind of pay tribute to one of my favorite drummers, and do the best I could at it. And I've gotten great feedback. And at some point, a mutual friend of ours, mutual drum tech, Norm Costa, played that track for Dave, and he was like, it's pretty good. Wow. Like, that was the reaction I guess I heard. I wasn't there, but he was like, yeah, man, dude, he put a stamp on it. He said it was great. So that makes me feel good too. Being my at this point, I talk about it so much, and I have over the years. I think he's probably like, get this guy out of my life. Dave Lombardo's like, tell this dude to stop talking. I get it. Leave me alone. Hey, Dave, can I get a picture? Hey, Dave, how you doing? Hey, shake hands. All right, yeah. Oh, man, what'd you do in this part? Oh. Get away from me. No, he's been really great. I could say, I don't want to go on and on too much about it. Just, there was one time in Japan, and there's guys that'll back it up, and I still got my chops busted for this, but there's a time in Japan where we did Beast Feast or Loud Park, or one of the big Beast Feast festival turned into Loud Park. So it's a huge festival in Tokyo that they do. And we played with Slayer, and hanging out afterwards, before the show's basically over. And there was this room, and it was almost like auditorium style, gym style, where the partitions were those walls that close, and they were made of like this aluminum material with some matting behind it or something.
Okay.
And Slayer crew dressing room on one side, hangout area in the other, and you could just see over the walls. And so it was a bunch of us hanging out. Dave was there, dudes were there, everyone's hanging. And I was already a little tipsy. Show's over, and I'm like, pulled one of those moments like, whatever I said, and he's just like, get out of here, whatever, busting chops. And the crew guys were busting my chops over the wall. So I went and just kicked the wall and blasted a panel out of the wall. like I was just like, shut up, boom. And I was like, oh shit. And I just hear the tour manager go, you're going to pay for that. And everyone busts out laughing, and I'm like, oh, dude, that's it. I'm an idiot now. I got to go. And next day I found out he went to the tour manager, Lombardo, and was just like, I got it. I'll cover it. Don't worry about it. Whatever. So I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And that's the last time I will be a fool. I swear.
Oh, my God. You make those mistakes as long as you learn from them, and kind of move on. But, God, and him picking that tab up, too. I mean, or, whatever it may have been, that got figured out. Yeah,
wow, it got figured. Whatever
awesome.
It was, the fact that he stepped up, I was just like, oh, man, that's wild. And I'm forever like, thank you, sorry, thank you, I'm sorry, thank you. I still get my chops busted.
And you can't look him in the eyes. All right, I'm not worthy. Thank you, sir. So as far as sometimes going back, still as far as in your youth there, and bringing up different things with walking through like a record shop. I have to mention. With Hatebreed and Elron Cantor being one of the artists that has contributed to some of the sick cover art that you guys have had. Mm-hmm. Going into local record shops of your own, what were some albums that stuck out to you that maybe you weren't even familiar with, but the cover art just drew you in?
If I remember correctly, I got into Death that way. Scream Bloody Gore. I looked at the cover and was like, what the hell is this? And then also Spiritual Healing. I love the cover of Spiritual Healing with the preacher and, on the forehead and everything. It's funny. Years and years later, I had a computer graphics class where, this is like early 90s, and you had to make business cards. That was one of the projects. And I made my business card as I was a spiritual healist or something. It made no sense. I mean, I did this computer graphic of Vic Rattlehead, the Megadeth guy, and I said Spiritual Healing, and I had my phone number on it and everything like that. I might have it here, actually. Hold on a second.
Oh, my God. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, so Death, that's what turned me on to Death, rolling through the record store and seeing the album covers, but this was it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
This was, I don't
awesome.
know, 1990 or something like that. Yeah. So, yeah, once I got into Death, like that was one of those bands I found because of the cover art. And then there was also this band called Cancer. And they had an album called To the Gory End. And I was going through a death metal phase at that time. I mean, I'm still a huge death metal fan. Cannibal Corpse album, same thing. You pick up the album, it's like, this is censored? Whoa, I got to check this out. And then you see the real cover, you're like, oh my God, this is bananas. So yeah, the Cancer album, I remember it was a guy's head and it had a machete through it. And he's just like, and that was the cover of the album. I was like, I got to listen to that. That's crazy.
Damn.
Just a dude with a machete through his head.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even familiar. I'd have to go back and check into that. Damn.
Yeah.
Cancer. Yeah, I mean, what was the album name?
To the Gory End.
Oof. Perfect.
Right?
I can't imagine. I mean, there probably wasn't a whole lot of thought with it. Like, well, I mean, here we are. We don't have to think anymore to title the album.
Right, exactly. What do we need for the artwork? I don't know. Just put a guy with a machete through his head. That's perfect. Perfect. Little blood running down his face. Done.
Yeah, good Lord. All right. It's and so along something else I like to do too is kind of dig into earlier times, earlier things when we're kind of breaking into the first moments of, just bringing our playing out, in public and going over different things like first shows and, the first maybe band that you formed. First of all, can you tell us about what was the first band that you joined or that you formed and how did the band come together early on?
Early on. Well, I went through high school jamming with guys, in my parents' garage and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I was like, it was either junior or senior in high school. And I hooked up with some local guys here that were playing around the club scene. And we put together this like, I don't know, I guess it was like a slow, sludgy, like death metal band, I guess, not really hardcore. It was straight metal. And we were called Ominous.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 17 years old. We played. It was a big deal, We played the Chance here in Poughkeepsie. That's the club here in this area. So we got a chance to play there. At one point we headlined, with other local bands, and it was my first experience, like having the Ticketmaster ticket with the name of the band on there, and it's like, wow, I still have it, I still have a bunch of them anytime we've played there. So that was a big deal. 17-year-old kid, playing locally, but that was the first band officially I think I was in. First show we ever did was like the bowling alley bar, local bowling alley bar. It was like a Halloween thing, and that was fun. And then just played some of the clubs that were around this area here, Poughkeepsie, Wappingers area, that I think all but the Chance they're all gone now. This was like mid 90s, late 90s. So yeah, that's where it started, as far as like getting out and playing in front of people for the first time and stuff. I mean, I'd never getting out of the garage, that was my first experience with that. It was like my senior year of high school or something like that.
Oh, okay. And was it something where, those initial first times, like, was it something more of, nerves that you kind of got over after playing a couple of times, or were you real excited about it? How did those first shows, end up playing wise for you?
I remember, being super nervous, super nervous. And it took at least 4 songs, I think. Like once I had done a couple shows, it took at least 3 to 4 songs to actually like you find your sea legs where you shake the nerves off and now you're just focused on what you're doing, But it was also like thinking back, like it's the first experience where you're thinking about other things besides the music though too, because now you're in a band. All right, you're jamming with other guys and like, all right, we got some songs. We got to record. Where are we going to record? We're going to put it on a tape. Wow, cool. Okay, we need artwork. I need a thanks list. Okay, where are we gonna play? Well, we need what are you gonna wear on stage? We gotta make it cool. You can't just go up there like, what are we gonna have something on stage like props or something? You just start to think about all these things, and it becomes more than just like, let's get together in the garage and just jam. Now you have other things to think about that have to do with the show. So it all started forming, like you start taking it really seriously, like, yeah, no, man, like we got to be tight. We got to practice at least twice a week and everything's got to be tight. And we got to create a set list, like what songs start out good. Okay, we'll end with this. And you start to think all these things that, I don't know, you never really thought about when you're just starting to play,
Yeah,
you just want to be that guy on stage, like, I want to do that. Then you realize all the much more work that goes
into it.
Yeah, all the work that goes into it. Which is all fun, but it's all part of it, You're in school and you're thinking about this shit. Like, yeah, we got to do that, and I got to make sure I do that. We got to print up those set lists, and yeah. Still to this day, I always have a mental checklist of everything that goes into what's going on that day, for myself personally.
Okay.
But yeah, that's it was fun, man. It was just it was cool, and then you're like just in your local scene, and you're meeting all these other people. And your circle of friends immediately explodes, and you're meeting other players and other dudes to jam with, so maybe, you're with this band, but now you're going to start jamming with this. This is a new band I'm going to do. And, it just starts to, everything's percolating. Yeah, everything starts to flourish. So it was the excitement. I could still feel it, the first times for all this stuff, your first experiences for all this stuff. It's, it's the butterflies in the stomach, man. It's the good anxiety where you're amped up. I still get it. I always said when I don't get that anymore, then it's over. Then it's like it's time to go do something else. whether you've been playing for 3 years or 30, you should still get that nervous, like, I'm almost going to puke. And after one song, no, I'm good. I'm just in the zone. This is it. Boom. We're running now. I still get that.
That guy looks like he has a lot of puke in his mouth right now, and he's just waiting to spit it up.
Yeah. I'm sure that's been said about me a lot too, because I spit a lot on stage, and of course, like, I'm just, I start hacking, and then you get to that point, like, am I going to throw up? No, just spit a couple more times. It makes me feel good. Yep, I'm going to throw up. No, I'm not. I'm good. And then I find that even keel. So,
my God.
It's always been that way.
Yeah. Okay. And you mentioned, the recording process and, the studio, bring us back to, first times with that, was that something that ended up a little bit more difficult, or was it, a comfortable process, your first time in a studio recording?
Same thing. The nerves, because everything's got to be perfect. And this is just a demo, on tape, but everyone's going to hear it. Everyone in the area is going to hear it. All the clubs are going to hear it. We got to send this out, So you get the nerves of just having to be perfect, and translate that years later into my first recordings with Hatebreed. The first album I did with the band was Perseverance. So it's not just another recording that you're doing with the band. Here is like, no, we're doing the first major label debut for the band. We've toured 5 years on Satisfaction. I was part of some of that. We've toured on Satisfaction. It's been years. It's time to follow up Satisfaction, which was, this blockbuster underground album. It's time to follow that up with something that is now going to be put out on Universal Records, a major label. And there's a budget behind it. So we're in this recording studio, Longview Farms in Massachusetts, which is this huge farm with a huge recording facility. Awesome studio. I forget, the board was like the board they recorded Back in Black on or something. And
okay.
Yeah, it was sick. A lot of like nostalgic stuff going on with the studio. Aerosmith had recorded there, Gladys Knight, Creed, Seven Dust.
Damn.
Like, there was heavy hitters, Bad Brains.
Wow. Damn.
So you go from like recording demos or just, doing some stuff with the bands around here to, now you're touring and you're doing stuff, and now you're in the hot seat now where we have to make a major awesome album for a major label and, set the new precedent going forward, because there was so much expectation behind it. So,
sure.
I mean, that's a recording experience in itself, completely different from what I had done up to that point. So, at that point it was like, oh, this is real. This is real producer, Matt Hyde. He had done God Hates Us All. He had done some stuff with No Doubt, Monster Magnet, Porno for Pyros. Like, he had done huge bands, and, it was wild. I could still remember those feelings too. Because it's pre-production. What's that? We never did pre-production. We got to do that. Yeah, we got to comb over the songs and, jamming them. The week before we go in the studio, you're jamming them for a week straight, like 8 hours a day, picking them apart.
Dang, wow.
Yeah,
and Zeus was a part of that project too, right?
Yes, he was. Yeah, Zeus was the engineer on that.
Engineering, yeah.
He's since been, he's been a part of every album, but he was engineer on that, and then the next one, engineer and mixing, and then now he just does everything. But he's been a part of the band since I've been a part of it. So he's like the sixth member in my eyes.
Yeah. Okay. It's such an awesome thing. It's such an awesome experience, as far as the nerves, I think it's something too, it's kind of fun. And that's why I touch on these things or earlier shows, just because, younger fans or people that are just getting into music kind of think, somebody that's in Slayer or someone who's in Hatebreed, it's like, oh, well, they've just been like this, their whole career. And, they just go up there and slap it out. And I like seeing, or I like hearing some of the insecurity, as far as like, hey, I had to bust through this shit, but look, as far as if you keep with it, you maintain a good project, a good product in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to take it seriously, especially when you're at that point, because now it's like you've been given the keys to the castle, so to speak. At this point, your opportunity is what everybody else wants to be doing right now. So you better take it seriously, and you better hammer it home. And I feel that we did. I mean, every record that I've been on, I've done my part, and I feel like the rest of the band has done their part, and we've always tried to deliver the goods, man. We've never lost the identity of the band, no matter what the label wanted or so-and-so wanted, or try this, try that. No, we've always like forged ahead and done what we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it, I feel, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, we're going to dig into, weight a little bit, a little bit further here. But I mean, that was sure one of those things too, where it kind of seems like the last couple albums I've heard, in different interviews or different things, like all pit, no shit, and it's like, it just doesn't stop. It's album after album.
Yeah, that's a good characteristic of a Hatebreed album. It just beats you over the head from start to finish.
Right. So one last thing here, kind of with some of the earlier things up until more recently. There's a video on YouTube. I think it was from like 2008 or 2009, digging into some of your pre-show work, warm up as far as just practices and different things that you do to warm up before shows. Have there been things since then that you've kind of added into that as far as like a pre-show ritual that you do to kind of prepare yourself before going up and playing a big festival or a big show?
I think the basics are still there. It changes. I think it changes every tour. I do a little bit of the same and a little bit different stuff, I think I've incorporated a lot more stretching into my life in general, and the pre-show stuff and some of the post-show stuff too, because you get off stage and you feel a little jacked up. But I like to stretch my legs and my hips more pre-show. You never realize how much tension you hold in your lower back. I hate to sound so hippy-dippy right now, but it's totally true. The tension you hold in your lower back and your midsection, especially like your hip flexors here. A lot of like your balance is there, so you really have to stretch it out and maintain. So I've touched on yoga. Over the last 10 years, I've been in and out of yoga. When I'm heavy into it, I'll do it 4 times a week. When I'm light on it, I'll do a couple stretches a day, or usually when I get out of bed and before I go to bed. That's another thing. You sleep better if you stretch before you go to bed. You actually sleep better. So it's good for your mental state too. Yeah. Stretch tonight. Let me know what comes out of it. All right. We'll meet here again tomorrow. Yeah. So that's helped a lot. Funny. But I try to take like at least a half an hour before the show, and I got to have the sticks in the warm-up pad. And I just do the rudiments, running singles, doubles, just having the songs flow through my head. We don't use a set list. We've never really used a set list. Hatebreed has never really used a set list. The only times we really do is if we're in a support slot or a festival slot that requires to be really tight on the time, start and finish. So we know we have to map it out and be out of there a certain time. But headliners, we usually discuss what we're going to start with, and we always know what we're going to finish with. And in between is just go for it. It's whatever Jamie calls out. He's really good at reading the crowd, and we're all on our toes, and we know what we got to play. We know the material, so we hear that title, and that's it. We blast through it. So I kind of just, I'll be back there on the pads just running the songs through my head and just humming along with stuff, and really just getting the blood flowing through the hands and the forearms. And sometimes I'll set up a pedal and play on a pad with the pedal, or I just kind of beat my feet on the floor just to get the blood flowing through the legs too. But that's usually it. I don't have any like crazy like sports-esque rituals or something like I have to wear the same pair of underwear on stage every night or whatever. Nothing like that.
Thank God not that shit.
Thank God not that. Oh my God,
that'd be rough.
But the stick is a big thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
I just keep talking.
No. I was just going to say, I think I was talking with Wayne and just mentioned, that has to be something too with, playing songs from, the Perseverance era and from that, long ago. Still, you get the reaction from the crowd, but keeping it interesting for the band, and having something where it's like, it kind of makes it a little interesting, I'm sure, as far as like not knowing what's going to be coming next and just kind of diving in and be like, all right, keep you on your toes a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I know from my point of view, my perspective, like the songs, especially the older songs, like the Satisfaction stuff, I didn't play on that stuff. So whatever I'm playing is like my it's the song, but it's kind of my interpretations of it. So I know the fills aren't.
Right.
I throw extra stuff in, and you know, just kind of make it my own. And I do that with anything else I've played on through the Hatebreed, my Hatebreed career. You know, songs, anything off of Perseverance or Rise. You know, I always say there's like the studio versions of the record versions, what you hear on record, and then as we play them more and more, and as they kind of go through time, they become a little different to me, and I do different stuff than live than I did on the record. And I think it keeps it, you know, spontaneous. It keeps it fresh. Nothing that would derail the song or make anybody else mess up or anything like that. It's just little fills or something like that, or little stops, or just some candy. Put some candy in with the song that wasn't there before to keep it sweet, if you will.
Yeah,
but
a couple of sprinkles, no big deal.
Yeah, a couple sprinkles on top. It's all good. And it keeps it interesting for me. It keeps it fresh, and I think the crowd digs it too. I've definitely gotten feedback like, man, I love what you do with Puritan. You know, what you do in that middle part or whatever. It's different than what's on record. Or like I think naturally with Adrenaline, I play everything a little faster anyway. So the speed of it is amped up live to what's on record.
Yeah, sure.
But still always try to keep the groove. Yeah. But yeah, man, I just keep it. I keep everything a little fresh, a little different. I like the spontaneity of it, and I hope that the fans do too.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it completely transpires. I mean, that's one fun thing with bands. You know, sometimes you have certain bands where it's so cool because it's so spot on. You know, certain things. You know, where it's like, oh, okay, that's awesome that they have it so close. And then I think there's a different appreciation as far as having that special, you know, live experience as far as seeing the band and like, oh, there's just a different energy. You know, I love what's on the album, but what you get live is really cool too. So I think that's always a cool balance to have. Now, you know, before digging into the newest album here, I wanted to ask about your recollection. How did it happen with Tear It Down? How did the outro go from Perseverance into being Tear It Down on the Rise of Brutality? That's one of the hardest things. I absolutely loved it. I remember hearing that in the outro, and then hearing that as the first thing on the next album. I was just like, holy shit, like one of the coolest things still this day. I try to talk my band into it all the time. Like, we still haven't done it, but hopefully we copy that.
Well, hey, we got it from somewhere. We took it from Bad Brains. I remember that. You know, they did something similar. So it was kind of like a nod to them, a little tribute to them, because we were doing Perseverance. What I remember exactly was when I was doing the drum tracks for Perseverance. Everything was pretty much done. It was 90% done. We had a couple things that we had to clean up, or just parts to, like, for example, the end of Proven, that notey breakdown part, that wasn't on the end of the song yet. The song was up to a point where there was that fade out. There was the holdout after the double bass part, and then it just kind of held out. And we knew it needed something else. So, you know, my last day or two in the studio was doing stuff like that. Like, we need a part. You know, we need to finish this song. We need a part for this. We were also working on a couple covers at the time, too, which never saw the light of day. And I don't know where they are now. I don't think they were ever mixed or anything. They're floating around in oblivion. We were working on a Metallica cover, and we did a Quicksand cover. And they were going to be like B-sides. Oh. Yeah, it would have been cool. But I remember the Metallica one. We just couldn't. We were working on Short as Straw, and we couldn't get the vibe. The vibe is really the drums and stuff were like, it was it's kind and it's long. It's a long song. And we were learning it in the studio because it was an idea that came up last minute, like, hey, let's do a couple covers. Oh, okay. And of course you take this like 6.5 minute Metallica song when we're used to playing for 1.5 minutes. So you got to dive in a little harder. And it just wasn't coming together. You know, if we had more time to work on it, it would have been fine. But at that point, you know, the drum, we're coming to the end of the drum session. So it's like, well, what can we do and what can we finish up? So we did Proven and we did this or that. And Jamie had the idea with the Bad Brains nod, like, we're going to end the album just with some kind of drum thing. So just do something. Just come up with some kind of drum thing, you know, we'll run through a couple things. And like, I figure, well, the next album, it's not written yet, but we'll write a song that starts out with that, and that will start out the next album. So that was kind of the mentality behind it. So I was just messing around, and it was just this like quad pattern thing, this linear thing, like, this concept. And I was like, wait a second, that'd be a... There you go. It was like, that's it, perfect. Yeah, it's just like a final track, but it's nothing. But it's just a cool drum thing, and that was it.
Yeah,
that was it. I was just messing around,
so cool.
And that was one of the last things I did. And it took about a week to do the drums for Perseverance, maybe a day or two later, give or take a day. And that was one of the last things I did. And that was like, all right, yeah, done. We're not going to do the covers. Everything else is done. We're good to go. On to guitars. Yeah.
Okay. Did anything come with the Quicksand cover?
No, same thing. The music was cool. I remember the music being done. I never heard it with vocals. And it just never came about. It was the same type of thing. It wasn't really, we did it with such short notice, and it was just like this last minute idea that it wasn't really locked in. It just wasn't sounding like we wanted it to. So it's all good. We'll just do other stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So it never came together. But yeah, we were working on a Metallica song and a Quicksand song. It's floating around in oblivion somewhere. Somebody's got it. I don't.
right. No, and that was so cool. It was just kind of one of those, like selfish moments I had to take, because that's always been one of my favorite things. And like, I just absolutely love that. The way that Perseverance ends and then you have the next album that just picks up right from that. And I never put that 2 and 2 with Bad Brains too. So I'm gonna have to go back and give that a little partnership listen. So. So now moving on to most recently, as far as Way to the False Self, I wanted to ask first off, as far as your drum breakdown for what you had in the studio. First of all, your drums, sizes, the specs that you had. I know you had the old Tamas.
Yeah.
And then what specific ones were they? And then the sizes that you had for what you used in the studio there.
The last 2 albums, I've used kind of a Frankenstein kit of Tama drums. My mounted toms, I use birch bubinga, and the kick and floor toms, I use straight bubinga.
Okay.
It's a darker, heavier, deeper wood, and the birch bubinga has more attack.
Shit. Okay.
For metal, but I was getting those low end tones that I really liked, and Zeus really liked them. So Concrete Confessional and Way to the False Self was the same setup. And every drum is mounted on its own stand, so nothing's mounted in the kick, so everything's kind of floating in its own way and standing on its own, so that all the sound resonates clearly, and it's just a really big sound. So my size is 10, 12, 14, 16, 18.
Okay.
Those are I go between that. My newer kits that I'm using live now are a little bigger on the toms. I'm doing 12, 13, 14, 16, 18. So I went a little larger on the rack toms. And I go back and forth between single kick and double kick. I'm mostly single kick with a pedal. That's what I learned to play. A double kick, nothing against it. It's just more to lug around. And I think in the studio, single kick is more concentrated. It's more of a concentrated sound, since you have that one drum. You're not dealing with tuning 2 drums and everything like that. So
right.
Yeah, could be a pain in the butt. But yeah, that's
the headache that goes into that.
Yeah, crazy. Double pedals easier. I got more of a feel for it. Right. I love the Iron Cobra. I've tried other pedals. I keep coming back to the Tama Iron Cobra. Nice. And then cymbal wise in the studio, I use Peisty. I've been with Peisty I've been with all the companies I use. I've been with them since 2002, 2003. I love all the stuff. It's what I always dreamed of playing. So I was able to secure endorsements with my favorite companies. So I use Peisty. Live, I use Peisty Rudes. They're a very abrasive cymbal, very loud. They have a very trademark sound, and I love them. Recording wise, they don't really work, because they just take over. So recording wise, I like they do, crazy, blow your head off. Yeah. So recording wise, I like the 2002 series. And okay.
Yeah,
they're great. 2002s, man. just they're a good rock cymbal. Signatures are great too, but I equate them kind of to be the same. The signatures are a little lighter. 2002s are always like more rock metal, and I love 15-inch hi-hats. A lot of guys use 14s. I used them for a while. I don't know. Once I stepped it up to 15-inch hats, there's no turning back. Bonham style, just really big.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And then Evans, I use G2 clears on all the toms.
Oh, okay. Now for recording, I've noticed that you use a Kevlar snare head. You use that recording too?
No, live, that's great. I love that. That's the Evans hybrid. It really projects live. It's kind of along the lines of a marching drum snare head. It can really take a beating. You don't have to change it much. I see my man Marino's chiming in. What's up, Marino? I haven't been reading a lot of these things on the bottom. I should. What's up, everybody? So the Kevlar head, it's not exactly Kevlar either. It's
I was going to ask, I was like, is it not? Because I guess I'm not over familiar with those, but I know I saw something. I was thinking that it was Kevlar, but yeah, what the hell is that?
It's kind of along the same lines. It's like if you've seen the Fallum head, it's kind of like that. Just heavy marching drum. It's a real leathery feeling drum head. And they're really, they can be expensive because there's a lot more material to it. But if you buy one, you're not going to kill this thing for a long time. So it's well worth, the
price to it.
The price tag and because you can just unleash on it. So it's a head like that'll last me, 1 or 2 tours easy. Maybe more, because once it sits in too, and you get that sweet spot, then you don't want to change it anyway, even though it's wearing out. But no, recording wise, different. I do the Power Center reverse dot Evans. It's a great recording head. They don't last long, probably change them a song or one every 2 songs, depending on how hard you're hitting. But it just really warm tone to the snare drum.
Now, do you have certain snares that you kind of circulate through as far as getting the right sound, or do you have the same snare that you bring for each recording session?
Working with Zeus, he actually has a secret weapon. He's got a snare that he uses that I've always just used up until I think the last 2 records. And no, he's got Zeus is the snare guru. He's got his he has his and a lot of producers, engineers, that they have their tricks. They have their instruments that they like in the studio. They have the things that they use. So his secret weapon has been on pretty much every Hatebreed record.
Oh, okay. Nice. All right. Yeah, I've heard different people that say, they come and they might have 2 or 3 that they bring, or they might use a couple that are in the studio. But that's always interesting as far as, what people personally bring, that might make it. And a lot of times it sounds like doesn't.
Yeah.
Everyone. All right, well then.
Everyone's got their thing. Early on, I was a big fan of metal snares, metal shell snares. And I still have a bunch of them, but somewhere along the lines, and I didn't want to record with anything different. And live, I just thought it had more of a cut, more of an attack. And when you find the right head for that metal snare, depending on how deep it is or whatever, nothing beats it. But somewhere along the line, I don't know, I just kind of went more wood. I like the maple snares. I had a birch one for a while, and the maple snare I'm using now, it's a 6x14. I've been using it live for I don't know, 6 years. And oh man, you can beat the hell out of it, and it's got it projects so much with that Evans hybrid head on it. It projects so much that it's a shotgun in a festival setting, open air, where you're on stage and it's kind of that, the hollowed out, and then everything projects out front. It's like it's a gun. Bam!
Perfect. Damn. Okay, so I'm gonna have to pick one of those up. Yeah, it certainly looks cool. It wasn't anything that I was even familiar with. So, and I, saw different, with research and different interviews or things that there was a gear video, gear of some sort, where you were kind of showing like different kits and things like that. And I think that's where I saw that. I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, it was probably that snare. Actually, I have been using it for 5 or 6 years at least. I do have a new Tama walnut snare that I'm stoked to get going. Once we get rocking live again, I want to add it to this guy here.
Yeah. Oh shit. Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't even notice that back there. Look at that. Dear
yeah. Look at
Lord,
this guy over here.
just sneaking around. Dear heaven,
Yeah, hanging out in the back.
man. Oh man. So this is the new kit you got?
Yeah, yeah. This is the new kit I got that I can't wait to take out on the road because it sounds great. And
Oh
it's once
man.
again, it's a combination of woods. It's a mix of bubinga and maple. So yeah, and I really love the finish. It was something that I just pitched back and forth with Tama, and we came up with that. And
Man.
they just sent me a test swatch of it, and I was like, yeah, that's it. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. You know, it's a color I haven't really seen anybody else using, and we went with a matte finish too, so there's really no gloss to it with the black hardware.
Man.
And yeah, man, it's a hell of a new toy.
Damn. What do you remember? What did they name the that blue? I mean, that is definitely something different. I don't think I've ever even seen.
Hopefully they named it Matt's Blue, and we'll trademark that because that's what it is. At NAMM next year, I better see Matt's Blue on. Yeah, no, it's just something like I threw some colors at him, and they, we were honing in on something, and we came up with that. So I was like, yeah, done, man. I wanted something different. Because everything I've had, I think, with Hatebreed especially, that's what everybody knows me from. Everything I've had, you're still laughing.
I'm trying to
it's
stop.
A great,
I'm sorry.
It's a great name for a color.
That was fucking funny.
Yeah, everything I've had has either been in the black or the red family in some way, shape, or form. So I wanted to kind of go outside the box with this one, and it doesn't get more outside the box than that. For like,
yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, it's different. But that was the thing where I don't know. Maybe even if I saw a picture somewhere, I saw the the blue, and I'm like, holy shit, what is that? It's sick. I mean, it looks so cool. So I mean, that's gonna be that's an awesome addition. You still have the red one then, right?
Yeah, I pretty much have every kit. I've only sold one kit because I just ran out of space, man. I only have so much room to keep everything. But other than that, I have every kit that I've ever gotten. I even have my first drum set that I ever got. Not that very first one from my uncle. The first serious drum set that I got, like when I graduated to, I wanted a bunch of toms and I have more cymbal stands and stuff, like more of a heavy metal kit. I have that first drum set still stacked up over here. So I've tried to hold on to everything, man, so long as I have the space and I have no reason to get rid of it. Because people ask all the time, what are you doing with that? Did you still got that kit? Yeah, I still got it. Leave me alone. You ain't getting it. It's over there. It's mine. Yeah.
How many do you have now?
Right now, well, with this one, I think I have 7.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, 7.
Dear Lord. I mean,
actually,
go
8.
Go ahead.
I have 8 actually. Yeah, I have 7 of the kits that I've used throughout the years, and then I recently got from Tama. They have this Club Jam kit. Are you familiar with the Club Jam? It's it's more compact. It's for easy transport, smaller gigs. Pull back the volume a little bit. It's like a little jazzy, funky kit. So I got one of those, and that's what I do. I do some local laid back jazz stuff with it. I jam with a buddy of mine, Todd Myhan, who's a ridiculous guitar player from the area here. He's been around a long time in our music scene here, and I've known him a long time. So we we call it the Matt and Todd Show. And if anybody wants the Matt and Todd Show, I'm just telling you, email me, hit me up on Instagram. Yeah, we do like instrumental, funky, jazzy type of danceable classic rock jams. They're all instrumentals, and we do it kind of laid back. We do our own versions of it. So yeah, it's cool. We do some local stuff around the area. People dig it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I had to ask, just as far as with having that many drums on hand. You ever have a little too much to drink and set up like a Neil Peart kit and just go nuts with it?
No, I have not. But I can say that 2 years ago now, Jason Bittner, we all know and love Jason Bittner from Overkill, Shadows Fall. He's a good friend of mine. We came up together, man. Known him for years. He lives in Albany, which is Schenectady, Albany. It's about an hour and 15 from me. So about 2 years ago, he had a couple drum bros up to his house, and we barbecued, and he's got a ridiculous drum basement storage area. He's got a kit that he replicated, a John Bonham Vistalite kit. He's got a Stuart Copeland kit, that he put all these kits together. Plus he's got his drums. So you got 3 or 4 drum sets around, and we were all just kicking it and trading ideas and just having a good time. So we called it Drum Camp. Like, me and Jason and Brian Zink and Corey from God Forbid. And we're talking to Ken Schock from Candiria about getting in on it next. And like, just, dudes that are New York or Jersey based, like, let's get together and hang and just be drum nerds and jam and barbecue and hang out. So we did that 2 years ago. And, so like, all right, who's hosting the next one? So I was like, if I ever hosted it here, I would have to do that. I would have to set up like all 7 drum sets in a row. And just, have something for everybody to rap on. We'll see. Maybe next year. Now that the pandemic's gone, we can get this thing going again.
Yeah, right. Do it big, Maybe even set up something where you have rolling chairs and it's just like the whole perimeter of the fucking room.
Rolling back and forth.
Oh, dear Lord. I can imagine that getting sickening pretty quick. Oh, my God. But one last thing I wanted to ask about was the sticks. So you've been with Vader for quite a while. What do you look for as far as weight and size with those bad boys?
I don't know. I don't pick it apart too much. 5Bs. I started with 5Bs. I used them for a long time. Good balance. Okay. I like the Vader balance. They're heavier to me than some of the other 5Bs that I've used, some of the other companies. So I like that top end heaviness to really dig into it. The balance is just great on the sticks. So I used 5Bs for a long time, and then I stepped it up to 2Bs, which are like tree trunks compared to, 5Bs. But you're letting the stick do more of the work at that point. So you kind of adjust your technique a little bit, and depending on the gear you're using, the stick just does the work for you. So I was hot on 2Bs for a bunch of years, and I still am. But to be honest, I go back and forth between the two, and it's kind of a weird thing. But some days, I don't know, I'm just feeling a 5B, a little smaller, but still feels good in the hand, still heavy. You're still getting the top heavy hits, and you still get that snap to it. And then there's some days where, I don't know, it's just I'm picking up the 2Bs, and they feel right. Even though they're larger, they still feel nice and fluid. And so I go back and forth between the two. I keep a
little option between.
Yeah. For some reason, like, and then playing on the little jazz kit, I'll use the 5Bs, or I'll use like the lightning rods or the brushes or something just to kind of really lay back. And that's a completely different world. But I don't know. It's weird, man. Once I stepped up to 2Bs for a while and they felt great. But then once in a while, I don't know, I go back. I don't know. Weird.
I see that. And, with a lot of musicians too, I think that's one of those things where it's, not every day is the same exact day where you're feeling the same, or maybe you're just a little more tired and want something, you want the sticks to do a little bit more of the work. Or so, having that option and having a couple of things on hand to be able to, what we're going to have today, let's make it interesting.
Yeah. I guess, you're right. I guess, we talked earlier about that spontaneity. I guess that kind of throws a little bit in that way. So long as it doesn't mess you up. Because, it's a difference. It could be to some people the difference between throwing a tennis ball or throwing a softball, and the weight's different. And but I don't know. Yeah, some days I don't know. Just feels right. Do what feels right.
Yeah, totally. So as far as your memory with Weight of the False Self, I wanted to dig in a little bit here. We're getting about just to an hour here. You need me to let you go? Because I know you had something here. I think maybe even at 2 or 2:30. I don't want to be cutting into your time too much.
3:00.
Oh, yeah. 3. Okay.
But no, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 15 more minutes.
Let's do it. All right. As far as from your memory, I wanted to end off on with Weight of the False Self here. What was the tracking like with like the first track that you went in and you guys recorded, and what do you remember the last track was that you recorded?
I remember I think there was like 3 that I remember diving into initially. And, I think every band, they have working titles for the stuff. So it wasn't originally these titles, but whatever kooky name we had for it. But I remember working on When the Blade Drops and Let Them Rot. Those were some of the ones that were initially demos that Jamie had kind of demoed out. And when I started doing the drum demos and stuff, those were the 2 that I remember diving right into, because I learned them, they switched a little bit or they weren't exactly finished. And then Wings of the Vulture too, because I remember because that had a very trademark Hatebreed feel. It had that trademark Hatebreed bounce to it. and a halftime type of stomping beat. So I remember diving into those initially, and then the last ones I remember working on, A Stroke of Red was definitely one of the last ones because that had a couple of arrangement changes. And towards the end, that was still being messed with a little bit because that was such a different song for us. You know, it really had a metal, Megadeth, Anthraxy type of feel to it, which was different for us. So we really wanted to make sure we nailed that one, and it was as perfect as it could be before it went off to the presses. And I think Cling to Life, same type of thing. That was one of the last ones. I remember towards the end of the song, 3/4 of the way through, there's the chorus, but it doesn't flow. It's all, you know, there's like however many bars of just drum fills under the chorus. You know? And I remember it's very busy, and I remember that was one of the last things I did because I had just done something rough, I think, on the demos, and then going back into it, like I had tracked most of the song except for that last part. So that was one of the last things I did. And I did a couple passes of that because I really wanted that to be perfect, you know, and the fact that that song is kind of in the vein of Stroke of Red. Like it's very metal. It's straightforward. It's a driving song. It's a standout track on the album. So we really had to make sure it was perfect. So that was another one. Like we were still making sure the arrangement was good until it was finally done, you know? Okay. Yeah, that's perfect.
Oh, okay. And as far as with the Hurdle Scatter, how does it come about? You know, the introduction of the song being this kick-ass drum solo.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a lot of fun to track. Haven't done anything like that on a Hatebreed record. That was actually Jamie had demoed the last two records. The songs have he's been messing around with the drum machine, and so he maps out the song, and he just put together this like drum solo-y type of section. Like this song is going to start out with a drum solo. So it was drum machine stuff, and it was crazy. And I was like, all right, well, I kind of just took the piece and made it my own, and, you know, did whatever I would do over it. And then, you know, there it is, that the matte version of what was mapped out. So it was a song that I mean, I'm stoked to play that one live because all eyes are on you, you know, like, here you go. It's a great standout track on the album because nothing started with that much drums before. So to play it live is going to be like, all right, man, let's rock. And the song's fast anyway. It's a real thrashy song. So the drums are really in the spotlight there. So it was a lot of fun to sit down and like write these cohesive fills that would flow into one another. And, you know, then I didn't think about it for a while, and I wanted to track a playthrough video of it. So, like, I don't know, a couple months ago. So, I had to sit down and like relearn exactly what I had done, or at least get it close, you know, because I hadn't really played it since the studio. So, because we haven't been playing because of everything. So, it was really cool to sit down and revisit and how I thought about everything, like having it all flow out and you know, drop into the main riff of the song.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely a surprise. It was something different that, you know, I had not heard, or, you know, from recollection, listening to the album for the first time, you know, thinking, I was like, I don't think Hatebreed's ever had a drum solo at the beginning. And it was a standout moment in the album. So I'm like, shit, dude, this is awesome. Riffs.
Yeah. I was stoked. that we've done something like that. And I'm stoked to get a lot of compliments on it, which is great. And I'm stoked to play it live. Because that's a nice addition to the set. You know, nothing, I know from the drum standpoint, nothing's ever really been planned out with Hatebreed, you know, like, I think we sit with the songs more nowadays, but the earlier stuff, it was like, you get in the studio and you do it. And you know, I'm not a one track guy, you know, like, some songs, yeah, sure. First track. Yeah, that's the one. Otherwise I'm usually like 2 or 3 passes of a song. Usually by the third one, got it. Boom, nailed, done. Put it to tape, whatever you want to call it, done. So, and that's it. There's no like weeks and weeks of this pre-production or like where I'm going to change this part and everything's so thought out. You know, it really just, it's caught in the moment. A lot of the Hatebreed stuff is caught in the moment. And I think that's why, from the drumming standpoint, like that's why the live stuff could be so different from the recorded stuff, because the recording, I was, you know, had this amount of time to do this material, and it was captured in time like that. And now here we are, weeks, months, years later, and I've been playing it so long, and I'm soaking in it and everything, and now I'm doing things differently, because maybe if I did think on it so much, I would have done it like that instead of like this or whatever. So I think, so the energy, Hatebreed record, the energy is being captured right then and there. That's it. Nothing. It's not this long planned out, thought out process, and then like, okay, now we're going to go record. No, it's like, yeah, write some songs, we demo it. Yeah, cool. Track it. Boom. All right, let's do it. Boom. And there's the record. I think nowadays we're sitting with things more that Jamie and Chris, they have time to demo out the riffs and, plot out the drums and sit with an arrangement longer, where we're switching things around. Like, no, maybe it doesn't need the chorus there, or let's start the song with this riff or something. Like, we're thinking on things a little more and sitting with things a little more than just done, next, okay, record guitars, yep, done, next, bass, yep, and you captured that lightning then and there, and that's it,
Yeah,
so
right.
I may.
No, go ahead.
What's that?
I said,
I know we're on a delay. I'm just gonna start going like this. Every recording has been different with Hatebreed. Like I said earlier, going back to Perseverance, where we did the pre-production in the big studio and big record label, all the way to we do a covers album where we just kind of were like, that wasn't even planned. We were just like, we did a cover for a Sick of It All tribute album, and next thing you know, everyone's throwing cover songs in a hat, and next thing you know, we're sitting on a cover album. So every recording experience with Hatebreed has been absolutely different from the one before.
Yeah, right. Okay. The one thing I was wanting to ask was, as far as, and maybe I missed this, and I apologize if I did, but with that drum solo at the beginning, was that played all the way through, or did you do that in different takes as far as for recording?
Half and half, I think, to get it perfect.
Okay.
I recorded the half of it up, and I did a full pass, and I think I liked the first half of it. So, and I didn't like the second half of it. So he played the half of it. I'm in the studio tracking, and he played the half of it, and I just came in at the tail end of it and finished it off, and then that was the entire thing.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because it was plotted out like I wanted it to, but that just tracking it at that time, I just don't think I nailed the second half of it like I wanted it to. So it was like, well, we got the first half, punch me in for the second half, and there we go.
Yes. Nice. Dude, look, this has been so awesome. I truly appreciate the time. I've been a fan for some years. My friends and I have seen you guys time and time again. And, hopefully in this next year here, or sometime soon, soon as possible, you guys get back on the road, and we can come see you again, man. This has been an honor. I truly appreciate this.
I appreciate talking with you. I'm glad, this was great. Being on this show, I get to talk about things that I never talk about with anybody, so it's great that, especially your early day stuff outside of Hatebreed and stuff, like, it's not like I'm going around talking about myself all the time. So this is actually cool.
Damn. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, this is very, very fun. And, all the different things as far as, myself, I love, any opportunities I get with this, but especially myself being a drummer, I love, hearing different things and kind of how, some of the people that I've looked up to for all these years, got into the game. And so, yeah, this has been awesome.
Awesome. Good. I'm glad.
All right.
It was great chatting with you. We'll do it again.
Absolutely, man. I'd say I will take that.
Perfect. See you soon.
Lo-Fi Horror Guy, my dude, Matt Byrne of Hatebreed. You guys take care. Stay safe, buddy.
Peace. Thanks, everybody.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi a horror guy. Yeah. Lo-Fi Horror Guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.